this is Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, the delegate from the Virgin Islands. In my previous video, we learned that during a congressional hearing in February 2019, Plaskett, a sitting congresswoman, was texting back and forth with the notorious Jeffrey Epstein. This was also after the Miami Herald published several investigative pieces by Julie K. Brown, which brought attention to Epstein's 2008 sweetheart deal. Brown's investigative series was so influential that by early February 2019, the Southern District of New York opened a formal criminal investigation into Epstein. And in late February 2019, Plaskett was texting with Epstein and taking advice as to how to question Michael Cohen. So Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina introduced House Resolution 888.
My House Resolution 888, censoring and condemning Delegate Stacey Plaskett and removing her from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence for conduct that reflects the discredibility on the House of Representatives for colluding with convicted felon and offender Jeffrey Epstein during a congressional hearing. Delegate Plaskett's relationship with Epstein stands in stark contrast to the public image that she has curated for herself as a defender of justice and accountability, and while secretly collaborating with an individual whose crimes against vulnerable women and children shocked the entire nation. Whereas Delegate Plaskett's willingness to receive instructions on official congressional proceedings from Epstein, a convicted felony sex offender with deep concerning international associations, is especially alarming and inappropriate given her own past service in the United States Department of Justice and her current role on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and raises serious questions about Delegate Plaskett's judgment, her integrity, and her fitness to serve.
And none of that is hyperbole, it's straight up facts. And quite frankly, Stacey Plaskett should resign from Congress, but censuring her and removing her from the Intel Committee, that would be a good first step. But now, let's watch the Democrats come to Stacey Plaskett's defense. First, here's Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland.
This seems to me to be one more pathetic effort to distract and divert attention from the fact that the president's name appeared more than 1,000 times already in the small fraction of material released on Epstein, and from the failure of the majority to move to disclose this information.
Don't look at what Stacey Plaskett did and has admitted to. No, look at the bad orange man and the Republicans.
The resolution actually proposes a disciplinary censure against Representative Stacey Plaskett, but amazingly alleges no misconduct. It does not allege the violation of the Constitution. It does not allege the violation of a federal law or a state law or local law. It does not even allege a violation of the ethics rules of the House of Representatives.
That is not true. Rule 23, Clause 1 of the House Rules state that members, officers, and employees must conduct themselves at all times in a manner that reflects creditably on the House. And H.R. 888 states that Plaskett's inappropriate coordination with Jeffrey Epstein during a congressional hearing reflects discreditably on the House of Representatives.
I still don't see what the charge is. Where is the ethical transgression? Where is the legal transgression?
It's right there in black and white, Jamie. But I get it. Democrats got a Democrat.
Now, they want to take a former United States prosecutor, the representative of the people of the Virgin Islands, and without even going to the ethics committee, much less a court, they want to arraign her on some charges based on a newspaper article that she did something lawful. However ill-advised it may have been, she took a phone call from one of her constituents.
Oh, I see. He's not Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender. He's Jeffrey Epstein, the constituent.
Taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing, and of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing.
But she didn't take a phone call. Stacey Plaskett was texting back and forth with Epstein over the course of several hours.
It's due process that protects all of our freedoms and our rights against the arbitrary power of government and the will just to punish somebody without any process at all. Is that the rule that you want here in the House of Representatives, that you can just draw up a member of Congress in 24 hours or 48 hours because there's a bad newspaper article without asking any questions, without giving that person any due process at all?
She admitted that she was texting with him during that hearing. So I don't know what due process is going to offer here.
If being on the phone with one of our constituents, even an evil, sinister force like Jeffrey Epstein, and of course, he has said that he considered Donald Trump the most evil person he ever met. He said, without a redeeming bone in his body.
Raskin is referring to this Jeffrey Epstein quote that the Democrats have been touting, where Jeffrey Epstein claims that he had met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. This is not the own the Democrats think it is. Next was Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut.
This effort, put forward by a bunch of people who haven't served on that committee and who have no idea the comity and the grace with which that committee serves. You, sirs, will hurt this committee badly. And I expect every Republican on the Intelligence Committee, and I'll say it again, I expect every Republican on the Intelligence Committee who know Ms. Plaskett and who know the committee to vote no on the idea that without evidence and without due process, Ms. Plaskett should be removed from that very special committee. No due process, no evidence, nothing offered other than a newspaper article.
A, there's a readout of the texts. B, Plaskett admitted they were her texts. This guy's the ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee and doesn't understand how evidence works.
Every single day, the leaders of that committee work hard, establish friendships, and do the work we need to do to make sure that the toxicity and the sewage that we're hearing right now don't impinge the critical work of making sure that our intelligence communities are keeping Americans safe and not violating civil liberties and not doing things inconsistent with the desires and character of the American people.
Oh, good grief, the fart's smelling. And Congressman Andy Biggs' response is just beautiful.
I'm sorry, I don't breathe the rarefied air of the Intelligence Committee. I don't. I'm just a regular guy and a member of the House. That's all. So I don't know about that rarefied air, and I guess I'm part of the sewage. That Mr. Himes said. Yeah. Thanks for agreeing with me, Ms. Plaskett. So.
Next, we have Congresswoman and future President of the United States, Jasmine Crockett.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review.
Notice she used the qualifier, somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, which means not the actual Jeffrey Epstein. For example, according to OpenSecrets.org, 2 people named Jeffrey Epstein contributed to Lee Zeldin's congressional campaign in 2020. And this Jeffrey Epstein couldn't have contributed to Lee Zeldin in 2020 because, as you know, Epstein didn't kill himself back in July 2019. And spoiler alert, the rest of Jasmine Crockett's list is bullshit too.
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies.
And spoiler alert, the rest of Jasmine Crockett's list is bogus too. Just like everyone else defending Stacey Plaskett.
And I wonder, is it just coincidence at the last 3 censures we've had on the House floor happen to involve, first, you tried to censure LaMonica MacGyver. And then, Mr. Speaker, Republicans tried to censure Ilhan Omar. And now we're on the floor and you're trying to censure Stacey Plaskett. What is it exactly that those 3 individuals have in common?
Oh, I see. It's because she's a black woman, right, Timu Obama? These people are insufferable. So finally, it was time for Stacey Plaskett to defend herself.
Everyone knows at that hearing in February, the entire country was watching. As Michael Cohen decided he was going to finally give up information about what was happening in the Trump world, the Trump enterprise. And at the beginning of that hearing, the ranking member, Jim Jordan, had the disrespect to Elijah Cummings, may he rest in peace and his name be a memory, after not allowing Mr. Jordan to shut the committee hearing down. And I turned to Mr. Jordan and told him to have respect for the chair and to basically shut up. And that moment went viral. And I began to get innumerable texts from friends, from foes, from constituents about what was happening in that hearing. And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein.
But that is a f***ing lie, because according to the records released from the Oversight Committee, Plaskett was texting with Epstein as early as 7:55 a.m. Eastern Time, and initiated the conversation that day by texting, "He'll talk about his grades." And for clarity, Plaskett is saying that she received a text from Epstein, but only after her viral moment during the hearing. Again, this is complete bullshit.
Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent.
There's that word again.
We all know that Jeffrey Epstein's actions were absolutely reprehensible. As a constituent, as an individual who gave donations to me, when I learned of the extent of his actions after his investigation, I gave that money to women's organizations in my community. Not back to him, but to women in the community who needed that support.
But this is revisionist history, because in July 2019, when Plaskett found out, her office told CNBC that she wasn't going to give that money back. Mike McQuarrie, a spokesman for Plaskett's office, told CNBC she had no immediate plans to refund the donation. "I'm pretty sure she's not," he said, and later confirmed in a follow-up phone call to verify her position that Plaskett was unlikely to return the contribution. He declined to comment further about the investigation and how Plaskett knew Epstein. But then it was reported that after public pressure, Plaskett reversed course. But wow, what a hero.
You want to talk about texting felons? How often do you text President Donald J. Trump? That's the individual we should be concerned about.
And there it is. Don't look at me, look at the bad orange man. Pathetic. And so, as you can see, the effort to censure Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett was a slam dunk, right? Right?
On this vote, the yeas are 209, the nays are 214. 3 voting present. The resolution is not adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
What the
Tells you how corrupt this place is, but the disgusting thing about it was 4 Republicans chose not to vote. 3 Republicans voted present, and 3 Republicans voted no. So it failed.
So for the record, these 3 Republicans voted against the resolution. These 3 voted present. And these 3, who were in Washington, didn't even bother to vote. F***ing cowards.
The gentlelady from Florida will state her inquiry.
I was wondering if the Speaker of the House of Representatives can explain why leadership on both sides, both Democrat and Republican, are cutting back-end deals to cover up public corruption in the House of Representatives from both Republican and Democrat members of Congress.
The gentlelady has not stated a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you very much, but I think the American people know what happened tonight.
Yep, it turns out that earlier in the day, Democrats revived a censure measure against Congressman Corey Mills of Florida, who has a lot of personal problems. But when the censure measure against Plaskett failed, the Mills censure measure mysteriously disappeared. Here's Congressman Tim Burchett on the matter.
Then we start cutting deals. To me, it's really disgusting. I get disgusted about some things, but this is one that's really bad. You've got some people on there who are chairmen of committees and things like that. And that's the kind of people we put in leadership. It's bogus and it stinks.
Now, there was denial, including from Corey Mills, that there was no backroom deal to kill the censure. But I'll let you, the viewer, decide. Here's Minority Whip Catherine Clark on CNN being asked if there was in fact a deal.
Some House conservatives have accused their leadership of cutting an agreement with Democrats to drop the censure resolution against Plaskett in exchange for Democrats dropping one against one of their own members, Corey Mills. Do you know if that happened?
I can tell you this, that we want to center our work around what the American people have told us. And they are telling us the language they are using, Casey, is survival. They are feeling so financially stretched, like they are working harder every single day and not getting ahead.
In other words, yeah, there was a deal. And now that Congresswoman Plaskett is off the hook, for now, she went on CNN for a victory lap. But instead, she dug an even deeper hole.
But like many constituents, individuals get your phone number, they text you about issues, they speak with you. I have spoken with him about issues that are relevant, things that are going on in the Virgin Islands and elsewhere around the country.
Oh, I see. Jeffrey Epstein was a concerned citizen reaching out to his representative. Nothing to see here, guys.
And I find it really interesting and almost rich that the Washington Post took 30 seconds, one set of question line that I did, and say that Epstein was directing me as to what to question Michael Cohen.
But yes or no, if Epstein had not brought up Rona to you in that text, would you have asked Michael Cohen about her independently?
Probably not. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information and I was going to get information to get at the truth.
Right, but on that day that we're talking about, you initiated the text exchange at 7:55 in the morning. So why were you even texting with Epstein at the time? He was a known sex offender then.
Sure. I explained to people, I've been a prosecutor for many years. And there are a lot of people who have information that are not your friends, that you use to get information to get at the truth. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward. I'm moving forward.
You think that if it was a Republican in Plaskett's situation, that she would urge the American people to move forward? Yeah, right. Anyway, that's it for now. If you want to support the channel, please head over to my brand new merch store at don'twalkrun.shop. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time, if there is next time.